You might have one hiding in your pocket right now, completely unaware of its fortune. And what makes this coin so extraordinary isn't just its age or design. It's a secret hidden deep in plain sight, a minting mistake that could change someone's life forever. The story begins at the Philadelphia Mint, a place that churns out millions of coins every day. In 1999, among the countless quarters produced, a tiny anomaly slipped through the cracks. A flaw so subtle, most eyes would never catch it. Yet to the trained collector, it's a golden key to unimaginable wealth. Dealers and collectors alike were stunned when the first one surfaced in an auction. The bidding skyrocketed, and the coin sold for an amount that made even seasoned investors pause. This was no ordinary quarter. It was $1 million treasure masquerading as pocket change. It all comes down to a tiny detail on the coin's face. A misaligned strike created a doubling effect on the date and the word liberty. Most people would glance at it and see just another quarter from 1999, but experts immediately recognized its rarity. Collectors were shocked. Some had spent decades chasing elusive errors, and here it was, hiding in plain sight, ready to turn ordinary change into a life-altering fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle almost overnight. And then came the stories that only added to the legend. One collector discovered a roll of 1999 Pennsylvania quarters in his attic, untouched since he had ordered them decades ago. As he sorted through the coins, one caught his eye. That subtle doubling shimmered under the light, and his heart raced. He had just stumbled onto something that could easily be worth over $1 million. Dealers were scrambling, trying to validate its authenticity, and the auction houses were preparing for a bidding war that would make history. This coin's journey isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the suspense of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary of places. Imagine holding it in your hand, knowing that a tiny minting flaw has transformed it into a multi-million-dollar marvel. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As the news spread, collectors everywhere began checking their own rolls of 1999 Pennsylvania quarters, hoping for the same miraculous find. Some found nothing. Some found coins that looked ordinary. But a precious few struck gold. To truly understand the value, you need to know exactly what to look for. The doubling on the date is key. Look closely at the numbers 1-9-9-9. You'll notice a faint shadow, almost like a ghost of the digits slightly offset. Then examine the word liberty at the top. That tiny doubling is subtle but unmistakable under magnification. Common mistakes include assuming all 1999 quarters are the same, or overlooking the doubling because it's faint. Only careful inspection reveals the secret. The excitement around this coin isn't fading. Every day, collectors post updates online, sharing photos and stories of their own discoveries. One dealer reported receiving dozens of calls after a single social media post, each person hoping their pocket change contained the same hidden fortune. The allure isn't just in the value. It's in the story, the mystery, the idea that at any moment, someone could stumble onto a treasure that changes everything. Now imagine the scene at an auction house when one of these quarters appears. Bidders lean forward, eyes locked on the coin. The price climbs faster and faster until it reaches a mind-blowing number: millions of dollars. Collectors who had been waiting for decades hold their breath, knowing that a single quarter, once lost in the shuffle of daily life, has the power to rewrite someone's financial future. And the tension doesn't end there. There are fakes out there, coins designed to mimic the doubling and trick the unsuspecting. This is why knowledge is power. Examine the coin's weight, its edges, and the fine details of the lettering. Use a magnifying glass, compare it to verified authentic examples, and never rush a purchase. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The history of 1999 Pennsylvania quarters now reads like a thriller. Once just another coin in circulation, they've become legends. Collectors tell tales of almost giving theirs away in a roll at a bank, only to discover years later it could have been worth over $1 million. Dealers tell stories of frantic phone calls, overnight shipping, and life-changing bids. This coin has a pulse, a story, and a destiny that's still unfolding today. If you own a 1999 Pennsylvania quarter, inspect it carefully. Look for that doubling on the date, the subtle shift in liberty, and any other anomalies. Even a coin that looks ordinary at first glance could hide the potential to be worth millions. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and yours could too. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $2.8 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket, feeling a familiar round metal piece, and realizing that what you held wasn't just change. It was a fortune waiting to be discovered. That's the story of the 1989 P. Washington quarter, a coin that has stunned collectors across the United States and made ordinary people into million-dollar witnesses overnight. That IT began quietly, as most of these stories do, in the bustling mint of Philadelphia. The 1989 P quarter looked ordinary at first glance. Every collector and coin handler would have dismissed it as just another quarter from the series. The same eagle on the back, George Washington's profile on the front. But sometimes, the smallest details hold the biggest secrets, and this coin was about to prove it. Collectors were shocked when a single specimen surfaced at a small regional auction in the Midwest. What seemed like a simple pocket change turned out to have an anomaly so rare, experts could hardly believe their eyes. A minting error, almost invisible to the casual observer, had created a unique doubling effect on the lettering. This tiny irregularity, barely noticeable to most, instantly transformed a humble quarter into a piece of numismatic history. And then came the stories that made the coin legendary. One man, a retiree from Ohio, had been sorting through decades of coins stored in old jars. He had no intention of selling anything, but as he ran his thumb across the surface of a particular 1989 P, something felt different. He took it to a dealer, expecting perhaps a few extra dollars. Instead, his jaw dropped. The coin he had held in his pocket for years could fetch millions. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Dealers across the country began chasing similar specimens. They knew, as all serious collectors know, that the market for rare minting errors could explode overnight. One auction in New York saw a bidding war that lasted hours. Each new offer shattered expectations, climbing higher and higher, until the quarter sold for a staggering $2.9 million. Collectors were speechless. Ordinary coins, ordinary people, extraordinary wealth. But what made this coin so rare, so extraordinarily valuable, wasn't just the doubling. Experts discovered that it was one of only a handful known to exist with this particular misstrike on the Philadelphia Mint production line. This made it a holy grail for quarter collectors, a coin that could be verified, cataloged, and yet was almost impossible to find. And the story keeps getting stranger. Another collector, a high school teacher in Texas, unknowingly spent a similar coin at a grocery store. It went unnoticed until he casually mentioned it to a friend who happened to be a numismatic enthusiast. That casual comment triggered a chain of events leading to appraisals, expert opinions, and an eventual auction sale that made headlines. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Collectors and dealers now know to look for certain characteristics. On the 1989 P. Washington quarter, the doubling is most noticeable on the words Liberty and the date itself. The lines of the numbers appear slightly shadowed, as if two images were pressed into one. The rim, the edge, and even the strike pressure are subtly different from a standard issue. But beware, counterfeiters have tried to replicate this error. Only careful observation, often under magnification, reveals the true $1 million coin. Imagine holding this coin in your hand, feeling the weight of history and rarity, and knowing that no one else in the world has one exactly like it. This coin isn't just metal. It's a story, a miracle, a testament to chance and timing. Collectors were shocked when a single collection held 4 of these quarters. The value was astronomical. Entire estates, inherited jars of coins, became treasure troves overnight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 1989 P quarters in circulation, knowing that the tiniest detail could mean the difference between a few cents and millions. And the suspense isn't over. Each quarter that surfaces carries the potential for an even higher auction price. One expert predicts that a perfect specimen, untouched and in mint condition, could command well beyond the current record. This isn't just speculation. It's history repeating itself in real time. First, inspect the lettering. Look for any doubling on Liberty or the date. Next, check the edges. A true 1989 P error has a subtle inconsistency along the rim. Finally, assess the overall strike. While the coin appears normal, the slightest doubling on the profile of Washington is a hallmark of this rare find. The thrill of discovery is unlike anything else. Thousands of quarters are exchanged daily, passed from hand to hand, yet only a rare few hide this miracle. Each jar, each pocket, each forgotten coin could hold the life-changing discovery that collectors dream about. This coin has inspired stories across the country. Ordinary men and women, retirees, teachers, small-town collectors, all have felt the rush of holding what could be a million-dollar treasure. The 1989 P. Washington quarter is a reminder that sometimes history hides in plain sight. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, hidden among ordinary coins, overlooked by everyone else, waiting for the moment it will reveal its secret. And when it does, it could change everything. Over $2 million worth of history, rarity, and chance sitting quietly in your home. Every 1989 P. Washington quarter is worth examining. Every detail matters. What looks like an everyday coin may be your ticket to an unimaginable fortune. The thrill, the suspense, the once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It's all real, all tangible, and all waiting for you to uncover as you empty your pockets tonight or sift through your old change. Remember this story. The ordinary can become extraordinary in the blink of an eye. The unnoticed can become legendary. And the 1989 P. Washington quarter is living proof that sometimes, just sometimes, you might be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. But it's sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a small, silver quarter in your hand and realizing it could change your life forever. It sounds like a story from a movie, yet for one lucky collector, it became a reality. The 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark is one of the rarest treasures hiding in plain sight. And today, you could be standing right in front of $1 million opportunity without even knowing it. Back in 1967, the U.S. Mint produced quarters in massive numbers. Millions flooded circulation, and most people never gave a second thought to the coins jingling in their pockets. But a small batch slipped through unnoticed, escaping the regular mint mark process. These quarters bore no mint mark at all, making them instantly extraordinary to collectors who understood their rarity. What made them truly remarkable wasn't just scarcity. It was the mystery that clung to them for decades. Collectors were shocked when the first of these no mint mark quarters surfaced at an auction. A man had casually sorted through his change, and one coin caught his eye. It looked normal, ordinary even, but something about the lettering and the shine felt off. Experts later confirmed it. He was holding a piece of history worth over $1 million. Just one coin, casually discovered, turned a man's pocket change into a fortune, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Rumors spread like wildfire. Dealers across the country began searching high and low, hoping to uncover more of these elusive quarters. Some even offered astonishing sums for unverified coins, desperate not to miss their chance. One collector reportedly flew across states simply to see a quarter in person, unsure if it was genuine, yet willing to risk everything for a shot at history. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the obverse, the side with George Washington. The lettering on the edge should be crisp, precise, and perfectly aligned. The mint mark is missing entirely, not faded, not worn, completely absent. That absence is what sets it apart from the millions of ordinary quarters minted the same year. Collectors will tell you the slightest deviation from this detail can make the difference between a standard quarter and $1 million treasure. Imagine the feeling of holding a coin like this in your hand. Heart racing, palms sweating. You realize the history, the rarity, the potential fortune it represents. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions are now a high-stakes game, with bids skyrocketing in minutes. And the best part? This exact quarter could be hiding in your drawer right now, unassuming, waiting for the right eye to recognize its true value. The story of the 1967 no mint mark quarter is also a story of mistakes that became miracles. Mistakes in the minting process, decisions lost to time, errors that could have sent these coins to oblivion, yet somehow they survived. One man's careful inspection turned what could have been a discarded coin into $1 million miracle. It's a lesson in patience, in curiosity, and in never underestimating the ordinary in your hand. But collectors beware. Many mistakes are disguised as this rare quarter. Counterfeits, misidentified coins, even coins with worn or faint mint marks can deceive the untrained eye. It takes precision, focus, and knowledge to identify the genuine article. Pay attention to the spacing of the letters, the relief of the design, the exact shine and weight. Every detail counts. Even a subtle scratch or polish can reduce a coin from $1 million marvel to just another piece of metal in circulation. Some of these coins are found in the most unexpected places, not tucked in albums, not displayed on shelves, but in jars of coins, under couches, and yes, even in the pockets of jeans you haven't worn in years. Every time you reach for a handful of change, remember that the ordinary could hold the extraordinary. 1 second, it's just a quarter. The next, it's a life-altering fortune. Collectors across the nation have shared stories of their own discoveries. One woman found a no-mint marked 1967 quarter tucked behind a photo frame. A child brought one to a local coin shop, unaware of its value. Each story carries the same disbelief, the same thrill, the same shock at realizing something so small could be worth so much. It's a reminder that history and fortune can appear in the most unlikely of forms, and the 1967 quarter is proof. And this isn't just about money. Holding this coin is holding a piece of American history. It represents the artistry, the precision, and even the imperfections of a bygone era. It is proof that even mistakes can become masterpieces, that rarity is often hidden in plain sight, and that fortune favors the curious. The thrill is in the hunt, the discovery, the realization that something almost thrown away is now priceless. Pay attention to the details when searching for your own. The coin must have no mint mark on the obverse. The lettering around George Washington should be clean and intact. Check the weight, the diameter, the fine lines on the portrait. These are what experts scrutinize when confirming authenticity. A genuine 1967 no mint mark Washington quarter can bring staggering sums at auction, but a misidentified coin can leave you disappointed. Knowledge is the key, and attention is your greatest ally. One man's curiosity changed his life. Another man's persistence made history. And now, you have the chance to step into that story. Every coin you handle is a potential window into fortune, waiting for the moment you recognize its worth. Dealers and collectors alike will tell you. This quarter is one of the most coveted coins from the 1960s. Its rarity, its story, and its potential value create a perfect storm that turns ordinary change into extraordinary wealth. Even now, as experts examine their collections, a hush falls over auctions when one of these coins appears. The crowd leans in. Hearts race. Phones flash. Bids rise in the tens of thousands, climbing to hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, over $1 million. Imagine witnessing that, or better yet, being the one holding the coin that triggers it all. And so the story comes full circle. The 1967 no mint mark Washington quarter is more than a coin. It is a secret, a mystery, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity disguised as pocket change. Every collector dreams of finding it. Every dealer hopes to sell it. And the lucky few who stumble upon it experience something extraordinary. This coin, a 1983 P. Washington quarter, almost ended up in the trash, but later, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a single coin, one tiny piece of metal, transformed an ordinary person's life forever. Imagine holding it in your hand. It looks normal at first glance, just like the thousands of quarters jingling in your pocket. But hidden in plain sight is a secret that collectors have been chasing for decades. The story begins with a subtle minting anomaly, an almost invisible error, something the human eye can easily overlook. Yet it's precisely what makes this coin worth millions. Back in 1983, the U.S. Mint struck millions of Washington quarters, none of which were expected to be extraordinary. But in that year, something unusual happened at the Philadelphia Mint. A small batch of coins came off the press with a subtle difference, an imperfection so minor that no one noticed immediately. It could have been brushed aside as a tiny flaw, forgotten in the shuffle of mass production. And yet, that tiny imperfection changed everything. Collectors who stumbled upon these coins noticed something strange, a slight doubling of the letters, a faint anomaly near the mint mark. a detail so delicate that it almost feels invisible unless you know exactly where to look. Dealers were stunned when they realized the potential. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the news rippled through the coin world like a shockwave. But what happened next stunned everyone. A single coin from that batch appeared at a major auction. Experts examined it, debated its value, and then, almost hesitantly, placed a bid. The hammer fell, and the coin sold for over $1 million. Everyone who had dismissed this year's quarters as ordinary suddenly realized how wrong they had been. Collectors were shocked. How could a coin that had spent decades in circulation, passed from hand to hand in grocery stores and laundromats, suddenly become priceless? The secret, as it often is with the rarest coins, lies in the details. This wasn't about age or wear. It was about a precise combination of minting anomalies, striking errors, and surviving in perfect enough condition to qualify for the rarest grading categories. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. They know that even a minor misstep could mean missing out on a chance at $1 million opportunity. And yet, despite the rush, these coins are incredibly rare. Only a few have surfaced in private collections or at auctions. Most remain hidden, unnoticed in jars, wallets, and piggy banks, waiting for someone to recognize their true value. You might already own one. That ordinary stack of quarters in your drawer could be hiding a treasure. Imagine reaching into your pocket one day, pulling out a coin, and discovering it's the 1983 P. Washington quarter with that rare minting anomaly. One small coin, and your life could change forever. First, examine the mint mark. Look carefully at the letter P near Washington's portrait. Then, inspect the edge and the lettering for subtle doubling, a telltale sign of that rare minting error. Use a magnifying glass, take your time, and compare it with reference images of verified coins. Many collectors miss the tiny differences, but those who spot them can uncover a fortune. Some people dismiss errors as trivial, but history shows that these tiny imperfections are exactly what creates staggering value. Coins that seem ordinary, mundane, or even slightly flawed can sell for unimaginable sums. In the case of the 1983 P. Washington quarter, the smallest detail, almost invisible, turns an everyday coin into a potential million-dollar treasure, and the stories don't end at auctions. There are accounts of coins discovered in spare change at grocery stores, coins found in old wallets long forgotten in drawers, coins inherited from relatives who never realized what they possessed. Each discovery is a story of luck, timing, and sharp-eyed observation. One collector bought a handful of quarters from a garage sale for a few dollars, and one of them turned out to be the coveted 1983 P with the rare anomaly. That single coin was valued at over $1 million. Collectors sometimes describe the moment of discovery as surreal. Your heart races, your hands tremble, and disbelief mixes with excitement. One man who found his coin in a jar of quarters later said it felt like the coin had chosen him, like fate had guided it into his hands. And in many ways, that's true. These rare coins often remain hidden until the right person, paying attention to the smallest details, finally uncovers them. Don't overlook ordinary coins. Check the mint mark, study the lettering, and look for that subtle doubling that sets the 1983 P apart. Use a bright light, magnification, and patience. Mistakes happen, and in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes can create fortunes. This coin isn't just about money. It's about possibility. It's about the thrill of discovery, the joy of holding a piece of history, and the life-changing moment when you realize the coin in your hand is more than just metal and design. It's a million-dollar story waiting to be told. The exact 1983 P. Washington quarter with the rare minting anomaly could be sitting in your drawer right now, silent, unassuming, and worth over $1 million. One ordinary coin, one extraordinary chance, one life forever changed. Imagine holding a tiny piece of metal in your hand and realizing it has the power to change your life forever. That's exactly the reality for collectors who have discovered the 2000 P. South Carolina quarter. Most people pass it by, thinking it's just another coin. But hidden in plain sight is a story that has stunned the coin world. That it all begins with a small, almost invisible minting mistake. Back in 2000, the U.S. Mint produced millions of quarters for South Carolina, part of the state quarter series. Most were ordinary, destined to jingle unnoticed in pockets and register drawers. But a few quarters slipped through with a rare, almost imperceptible error. This error, invisible to the untrained eye, has transformed one ordinary quarter into a collector's goldmine. Collectors were shocked when the first of these quarters surfaced. It wasn't in a fancy auction hall or tucked away in a museum vault. It was found in a man's pocket change, folded between receipts and grocery coins. He didn't realize he was holding a coin with the potential to be worth over $1 million. Imagine that moment. A regular person, sipping their morning coffee, suddenly discovering their pocket change could rewrite their life story. And the twist doesn't end there. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these quarters, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community. Some coins have already sold for staggering sums, but the true secret lies in identifying the exact variant. One tiny detail on the coin's surface is worth more than most people make in a decade. One detail, and most people miss it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly among collectors, and suddenly, everyone was scouring their change, checking rolls of quarters, hoping to be the next lucky discoverer. One man's casual habit of checking his coins turned into a $1 million miracle. He started examining each quarter with a magnifying glass, comparing tiny ridges, tiny flaws, tiny scratches that could make the difference between an ordinary quarter and one worth an unimaginable fortune. This isn't just a story of luck. It's a story of patience, knowledge, and the ability to spot what others overlook. Most people toss these coins aside without a second thought. But for those who pay attention, the 2000 P South Carolina quarter could be the key to a life-changing windfall. Imagine flipping through a pile of coins at home, feeling the metallic weight of your discovery, and realizing this is the one. Dealers will tell you the margins are razor thin. They look for subtle anomalies, a doubled mint mark, a tiny die crack, a misalignment in the engraving. These tiny imperfections are like fingerprints, unique and irreplaceable. They are what make a quarter worth millions instead of mere 25 cents. One imperfection, one rare moment in the minting process, and suddenly, you are holding treasure. Collectors have reported finding these quarters in the most mundane places. A grocery store till, a dusty drawer, a jar full of spare change. The thrill is real. The moment you spot that one tiny difference, your pulse quickens. Dealers will stop you on the street if you show them the right quarter, and auction houses will fight to feature it in their catalogs. That small coin could literally make headlines. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The secret lies in the mint mark and the subtle variations in the metal strike. Some quarters show faint doubling in the P mint mark, others have a slight ridge misalignment along the edge. It's almost imperceptible unless you know exactly what to look for. And knowing is everything. One person's ignorance could be another person's fortune, and the story grows more astonishing. Imagine someone who inherited a jar of coins from a relative, sifting through decades of pocket change, only to find the 2000 P South Carolina quarter hiding at the bottom. It's a scenario that sounds like fiction, but it's happening again and again. Some collectors have documented these finds with photos, showing just how easily a life-changing coin can hide in plain sight. Every minute, more quarters are being checked, more eyes are searching, but the rarity remains. There are very few of these quarters in existence with the exact error that makes them worth over $1 million. The scarcity amplifies the thrill, the suspense, and the potential payoff. One coin can make an ordinary person an extraordinary story. First, look for the P mint mark. Examine it under a magnifying glass. Check for doubling, slight misalignment, or tiny imperfections in the design. Compare it against known images of the error. Pay attention to the edge. Sometimes there is a tiny ridge inconsistency that is invisible to the casual observer. And remember, lighting can reveal details that are otherwise hidden. Tilt the coin, rotate it, and watch for those subtle signs. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he learned to see what others couldn't. He didn't just stumble upon it. He studied, he compared, he examined. And that's the difference between a coin worth 25 cents and a coin worth over $1 million. The potential is real, and it could be sitting right in your drawer, right under your nose. Collectors worldwide are now sharing tips, photographs, and guides on spotting these rare quarters. Social media is buzzing with excitement. auction houses are posting previews, and private dealers are scrambling. The frenzy has created a ripple effect. One coin can spark a chain reaction of discoveries, envy, and excitement. So, next time you empty your pocket change, pay attention. Every quarter counts. Every small detail matters. The 2000 P South Carolina quarter may be the coin that changes your life. Remember the story of the man who checked his loose change and found a coin worth over $1 million. His discovery wasn't magic. It was vision, knowledge, and a little bit of luck. Take your time. Learn to recognize the mint mark. Study the edges, the ridges, the alignment, the tiniest imperfections. Compare them against verified images of the rare quarter. And when you find it, hold it close. Know that in your hand, you have a piece of history and a potential fortune. One ordinary-looking 2006 P North Dakota quarter, forgotten in circulation, overlooked by millions, has stunned collectors and dealers alike with its hidden fortune. But how did this seemingly simple coin turn into a $1 million miracle? What tiny detail makes it priceless? And most importantly, could it be sitting in your wallet right now? It all started quietly, in the mid-2000s, when the U.S. Mint was producing state quarters at a staggering pace. Tens of millions of quarters were flooding the nation, each stamped with a story celebrating a unique part of America. North Dakota's quarter was meant to honor the state's rugged landscapes and proud heritage. Nothing more, or so everyone thought. But deep within a handful of these coins, a subtle anomaly occurred, a hidden minting error that almost no one noticed. Collectors were stunned when these rare errors surfaced years later. This wasn't a loud, obvious mistake. It was subtle, almost invisible. Some coins had doubled dime markings so delicate that even seasoned numismatists initially dismissed them. But the impact was massive. One man discovered his coin in his change while buying coffee. At first, he thought it was just another quarter, but a closer look revealed faint, ghostly traces of an engraving mistake on the reverse side, an error that transformed an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. The story spread fast. Dealers who had ignored state quarters for years suddenly became obsessed. Auctions erupted. Coins that would have been worth 25 cents were now commanding bids in the hundreds of thousands. And one particular 2006 P North Dakota quarter, it sold privately for over $1 million. One man's pocket change became a literal $1 million miracle. Collectors were shocked. How could such a small piece of metal, barely 0.2 inches thick, hold such unimaginable value? The secret was in the details. The minting mistake was tiny, a barely perceptible doubling along the state outline and lettering, but to a trained eye, it was priceless. Every time a new coin surfaced, the coin world held its breath. Dealers rushed to authenticate and buy these coins. Even minor differences in the lettering could mean the difference between a $5 coin and a $1 million gem. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A coin identical to the first discovery appeared, this time in a jar of coins someone had been collecting for decades. The finder had no idea of its worth until a friend, a collector, pointed out the unusual engraving. That coin, like the first, eventually sold for over $1 million, cementing the North Dakota quarter's place in history. The excitement isn't just in the numbers. It's the story, the mystery. Every collector dreams of holding a coin that no one else has, a piece of history that suddenly becomes a fortune. The 2006 P North Dakota quarter is more than metal. It's a symbol of patience, observation, and luck colliding. People who find these coins often describe the moment as life-changing, surreal, almost magical. Check the mint mark. This is a 2006 P, meaning it was minted in Philadelphia. Then, examine the state outline carefully. The doubling on the letters and the borders is subtle, and many collectors miss it at first glance. Look for faint shadows along the edges of the lettering. These are not scratches but the telltale signs of a minting error. Common mistakes include misidentifying regular wear marks as errors or overlooking faint doubling because it's nearly invisible without magnification. Every detail matters. The coin's condition is crucial. Even small scratches can impact value. But because the error is so rare, even coins in circulated condition have sold for astonishing sums. Dealers advise photographing the coin and seeking professional grading before attempting to sell. Authentication is essential. One misstep and a potential million-dollar find could be mistaken for ordinary change. Collectors who've held these coins describe them with reverence. Some even say it's addictive. Once you've seen the rare doubling, the hunt for more becomes an obsession. Imagine holding a coin in your hand and realizing it could buy a house, fund a dream, or change your life forever. That's the power of this North Dakota quarter. But this story isn't over. Every time someone empties their pockets or jars, there's a chance another 2006 P North Dakota quarter is out there, waiting to be discovered. Could it be sitting in your drawer? Maybe it's mixed in with your pocket change, unnoticed, silently holding its million-dollar secret. This is the thrill collectors live for, the possibility that a life-altering discovery is just a coin away. The value isn't obvious at first glance. Look for subtle doubling, faint engraving anomalies, and the pristine mint mark. This coin may look ordinary, but it carries a story and a fortune hidden in plain sight. One tiny detail, a shadow here, a double line there, can transform a simple quarter into an auction room sensation. Time and again, collectors have been amazed at what turns up. Every jar, every roll of change, every forgotten coin box has the potential for discovery. This is why the 2006 P North Dakota quarter isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility, of hope, of luck. People still tell stories of the first find as if it were a legend, and new finds continue to make headlines, proving the excitement hasn't faded. Imagine telling your grandkids you found a million-dollar coin in your change. Imagine the disbelief, the awe, the envy from friends. That's the magic of this North Dakota quarter. It's a tangible reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked things can carry unimaginable value if you know where to look and what to notice. Imagine that. A single quarter, ordinary in every way to the untrained eye, hiding a secret that could transform an entire life. One collector's casual glance in a pocket change jar turned into a story the coin world still whispers about. It all began in 1988, a year when most quarters rolled off the presses unnoticed, destined for vending machines, parking meters, and coin jars. But for a tiny fraction, something went incredibly wrong, or incredibly right, depending on how you see it. Somewhere in the Philadelphia Mint, a subtle anomaly was born, unnoticed by the workers, unnoticed by the collectors, until decades later. Collectors were shocked when the first of these rare 1988 P. Washington quarters surfaced at an auction. What made it special? A barely visible mint mark variation that turned a simple quarter into a near million-dollar treasure. Dealers rushed to get their hands on these coins, but the truth is, most people never even knew they existed. You might be holding one in your pocket right now and not even realize it. One man discovered his in a jar of coins he had ignored for years. He had been buying old soda from vending machines, tossing the change into a container, and never paying much attention. Until one day, he noticed a tiny difference, a detail most people miss entirely, and everything changed. That tiny, overlooked marking transformed his ordinary pocket change into a potential multi-million-dollar fortune. The coin world was stunned. Auctions erupted. Collectors debated its origins. Some called it a fluke of the minting process. Others believed it was a printing error so rare that it had been quietly hiding in circulation, waiting for the right eye to spot it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. It wasn't just about rarity. It was about perfection. These quarters had to be in pristine condition to reach the upper echelons of value. Even the slightest scratch, even the tiniest blemish, could drop its worth by hundreds of thousands. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle, and it happened because he knew exactly what to look for. Dealers are hunting these coins relentlessly. They search through rolls, jars, and drawers across the country because the 1988 P quarters value isn't just theoretical. These coins have sold for staggering sums at auction, and the thrill is in the chase. The knowledge that a coin you see every day could hold an almost unimaginable fortune. Look closely at the mint mark, the subtle features of the engraving, the crispness of the detail on Washington's profile. The 1988 P quarters with this particular anomaly are extraordinarily rare. Most quarters, even from 1988, won't have it. That's why collectors are obsessed with spotting them. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's a barely perceptible irregularity, a whisper of an error that hides in plain sight. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll never see it. But if you do, you might just hold a fortune in your hand. Imagine the scene at a recent auction. The coin appeared unremarkable at first glance. A few spectators murmured politely. But the moment an expert examined it under the magnifying glass, jaws dropped. Collectors leaned in, phones were lifted to document it, and the bidding frenzy began. From a few thousand to hundreds of thousands, the numbers soared. By the end, the quarter had officially crossed the $1 million mark. Start with rolls of 1988 P quarters, focus on mint marks, check for unusual strikes, anomalies in lettering, and subtle differences in the portrait of Washington. Compare each coin meticulously. Patience and attention to detail are everything. This isn't just coin collecting. It's treasure hunting. One remarkable story involves a retired teacher who never thought of himself as a collector. He kept coins from everyday transactions in a box on his desk. One afternoon, sorting through decades of change, he noticed a peculiar shine, a slightly different letter alignment. He took it to a dealer, who immediately recognized it. That ordinary teacher had unknowingly held $1 million coin for years. Emotional moments like that are what make these stories unforgettable. These aren't just coins. They are time capsules, echoes of history, hidden fortunes waiting for discovery. Dealers speak in hushed tones when they mention the 1988 P. Washington quarters. Everyone knows someone who found one, or almost found one, and missed the opportunity. The coin's backstory makes it even more compelling. The Philadelphia Mint in 1988 produced millions of quarters, yet only a handful carry this unique anomaly. Why? Was it a brief equipment misalignment, a forgotten error in the stamping process, or pure luck? No one knows for certain. And that mystery adds layers to its value. Collectors are drawn not just by the dollar signs, but by the story, the thrill, the almost mythical quality of holding something so rare. Learning to identify it. First, examine the P mint mark closely. Look for any variations in thickness, spacing, or placement. Next, study Washington's profile. Small details in the hair and face can reveal the anomaly. Finally, assess the coin's condition. Circulated coins rarely reach the full multi-million-dollar value. The untouched, perfect specimens command the highest bids. That one coin that could change everything. And sometimes, it really is in your drawer, your pocket, or your jar of change. Dealers who know the rarity are paying close attention, and auctions continue to break records. One coin can turn a lifetime of small savings into a life-altering fortune. Imagine holding it in your hand, feeling the weight of history, knowing that what seems like an ordinary piece of metal could be worth over $2 million. That thrill, that possibility, is what drives collectors. Each quarter carries the whisper of potential, a secret the mint never intended to share, and the excitement of discovery is like no other if you think about it. This coin is more than money. It's a story of patience, observation, and luck. It's a reminder that treasures can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize them. The 1988 P. Washington quarter is not just a collectible. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and the window to find one is fleeting. Among the ordinary, the mundane, the everyday change, there could be a miracle waiting. A tiny coin, perfectly minted in 1988, carrying a secret worth over $1 million, could be right under your nose. Imagine holding a tiny silver disc in your hand, one that could change your life forever, yet most people pass it by without a second thought. That's the story of the 2017 P. Washington quarter dollar, a coin that seems ordinary, but hides a secret worth millions. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins hit the auction block. What they discovered made the entire numismatic world stop in its tracks. It all started at the Philadelphia Mint, where thousands of coins are produced every day. But in 2017, a subtle minting anomaly occurred, almost invisible to the untrained eye. A minute misalignment, a faint doubling on the obverse, nothing most people would notice while buying a soda. Yet, these tiny imperfections are exactly what make this coin so valuable. One man, digging through pocket change like he does every week, spotted something that seemed off. At first, he thought it was just dirt. But when he examined it under magnification, he realized he held a coin unlike any he had ever seen. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these quarters, and one auction recently set a record that stunned everyone. Bids skyrocketed into the millions, and the winning collector walked away with a treasure that could have been hiding in anyone's pocket. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts began combing through circulation, hunting for more of these rare misprints. Suddenly, everyday change became a potential gold mine. Imagine the shock. Something you drop on the counter while buying coffee could be worth a fortune. It's not just about metal or age. It's about rarity, story, and history locked into a coin smaller than your thumb. One tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it entirely. Look closely at the edge of the coin, the precise spacing of the letters, the faint doubling on Washington's profile. These are the telltale signs. The difference between a regular quarter and $1 million miracle can be almost invisible. Heart racing, hands trembling, a mixture of disbelief and excitement. He said it felt like destiny, like the coin chose him from thousands of ordinary quarters. Stories like this remind us why collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a chance to uncover secrets that have been hiding in plain sight for decades. At first glance, a 2017 P quarter looks completely normal. But if you know where to look, you'll see the subtle irregularities that define its rarity. The mint mark is perfectly centered, yet on certain rare specimens, it sits slightly off, a tiny misstep that only trained eyes can detect. The layering of the design may show faint doubling, especially around the word liberty. Collectors who know these secrets are the ones who can spot $1 million coin in a pocket full of change. Coins that have never been handled, that have preserved their original mint luster, are the ones selling for astronomical sums. One uncirculated specimen recently went for over $2 million, and the story behind it is almost cinematic. The coin had passed through dozens of hands before finally resting in a collector's cabinet, where it remained untouched for years, waiting for the right moment to reveal its true value. But even in circulation, a coin with the right anomaly can become a legend. A single 2017 P quarter with a doubling error recently appeared in a small-town convenience store, unnoticed by the cashier who handed it over with change. That quarter now has a new home in a private collection, and its story is told among collectors like a modern-day treasure legend. Your pocket, a jar of spare change, a forgotten drawer. The odds are low, but the payoff is life-changing. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he knew what to look for. And now, you can too. Learn the subtle signs, the tiny imperfections, and the secrets of the mint. Look for misaligned mint marks, faint doubling on the obverse, and coins that still retain their original sheen. But don't be fooled. Some coins appear rare, but are just ordinary quarters. Many collectors make the mistake of chasing what looks valuable at first glance. This is why education and attention to detail matter more than luck. Knowing exactly what to look for can mean the difference between a regular coin and a multi-million-dollar discovery. The excitement around the 2017 P quarter isn't just about money. It's about uncovering history, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, and connecting with a story that started at the mint and traveled through countless hands. Imagine holding a coin that survived decades, unnoticed, until someone recognized its hidden value. And yes, it's easy to overlook. Most people won't know this coin exists until a friend or a video like this opens their eyes. That's why every detail I've shared matters. The placement of the mint mark, the faint doubling on Washington's portrait, the luster that still shines despite the years. These are the clues that separate the mundane from the miraculous. Collectors continue to search, and the market for these coins is only growing. Auctions are filled with whispers of new discoveries, and dealers are watching every circulation batch, hoping to catch the next $1 million specimen. One wrong move could mean passing up a fortune, which is why vigilance and knowledge are everything. And here's a cliffhanger. A coin that once sat unnoticed in a jar of quarters in Iowa is now valued at over $2 million. Imagine if that had been anyone else's pocket change. This tiny disc, seemingly worthless to the untrained eye, can hold the power to transform someone's life overnight. Focus on the 2017 P Washington quarters in circulation. Look for the faint doubling on the obverse letters. Inspect the mint mark for slight misalignments, and check the luster for signs it hasn't been circulated heavily. Compare it to verified images of auctioned coins, and if you spot one, get it professionally graded. The difference between an ordinary quarter and a $2 million treasure is subtle, but it's there. Collectors who act quickly have a chance to secure a piece of history, and even a single coin can change a life. Imagine the thrill, the disbelief, the adrenaline of holding something that could be worth millions. Stories of ordinary people stumbling onto wealth through coins like this are not myths. They are happening right now, and one of those stories could be yours. Remember, the key is attention to detail and knowledge. Ordinary quarters are everywhere, but the 2017 P. Washington quarters with minting anomalies are extremely rare. Learn the telltale signs, study past auction results, and always keep your eyes open. A coin in your pocket could be hiding a secret worth over $1 million. This is more than collecting. This is discovery, excitement, and the thrill of unearthing a hidden treasure. The 2017 P. Washington quarter dollar isn't just metal. It's a story, a mystery, and a potential fortune waiting to be found. And now, imagine the moment you pull a coin from your drawer, examine it closely, and realize you might be holding something extraordinary. That heart-pounding realization, that disbelief, that instant connection to history, it's priceless. One coin, overlooked by millions, could suddenly make you part of a story collectors will tell for generations. But this wasn't ordinary. This coin had a story that would shock the entire collecting world, and it would soon be worth over $2 million. Most people walked right past it, never knowing what they were holding. And yet, for one lucky collector, this coin became $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. The 2021 P. Washington quarter looks familiar at first glance. It's the coin you've seen in your change hundreds of times. But if you look closely, there's a tiny, almost invisible error, a minting anomaly that transforms a simple quarter into a collector's dream. Dealers have called it the find of the decade. And it all comes down to one detail, one microscopic imperfection that can make this coin worth up to $2.40 million. Collectors were shocked when the news first broke. A coin from a brand new series, released less than 5 years ago, suddenly commanded prices most thought impossible. How could a coin minted in 2021, in mass quantities, suddenly skyrocket in value? The answer lies in a combination of chance, human error at the mint, and the obsessive eyes of collectors who know exactly what to look for. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, a casual collector, discovered this coin while sorting through a pile of loose change in his kitchen. He didn't realize the fortune he had in his hand. He showed it to a local dealer, expecting maybe a few dollars above face value. Instead, the dealer's eyes widened, his voice barely steady, as he whispered words that would change the man's life. You might be holding a coin worth millions. This isn't just hype. The coin's value is real, verified by auction houses and top grading services. One 2021 P quarter with this exact anomaly sold for nearly $2.5 million. Collectors were rushing to get their hands on any coin that matched the pattern, scouring pocket change, rolls, and even forgotten drawers. Some traveled across the country to examine coins in person, hoping for a chance at the same discovery. It all comes down to the minting process. At the Philadelphia Mint, where this coin was struck, a rare die error occurred, a slight doubling on the obverse, barely noticeable, but unmistakable to trained eyes. Most people miss it entirely. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people will never even know it exists. Imagine holding a coin that was almost overlooked, a coin that could have been spent at a vending machine, only to discover that it could change your life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, a story whispered through collector circles as the stuff of legend. Each coin carries its own subtle quirks, tiny deviations that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. The excitement didn't stop there. Social media exploded with images of these rare coins, collectors sharing close-up shots, magnifying glasses hovering over their finds. The hunt became feverish. What started as curiosity turned into obsession. Even seasoned numismatists admitted they had never seen anything like it. A modern coin from 2021 commanding such staggering sums. Experts estimate that very few exist, and each one carries a slightly different mark of rarity. Some are more pronounced, some nearly invisible. But the impact is the same. A coin that could transform a life. A coin that could be sitting in your drawer right now, unnoticed, waiting for the moment it will reveal its true value. Collectors must be careful. Counterfeits and misleading listings flood online marketplaces. It takes patience, training, and a keen eye to verify a coin's authenticity. Look for the subtle doubling on the obverse, the specific placement of the mint mark, the way the light catches the raised details. A single misstep can cost tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. But for those who know the signs, the reward is extraordinary. This coin isn't just a piece of metal. It's a story frozen in time, a piece of history, a testament to the rare beauty hidden in everyday objects. The thrill of discovery, the rush of realizing that your ordinary change could be worth millions, is unlike anything else. Dealers, collectors, and auction houses all agree. The 2021 P quarter with this specific anomaly is one of the most exciting finds in modern numismatics. These coins can still be found in circulation. That means every day, someone might unknowingly drop a $2 million quarter into a tip jar or a vending machine. Every roll of quarters could hold a fortune. Every pocket, a hidden treasure. The possibilities are endless, but only if you know what to look for. Take your time examining coins. Use a magnifying glass. Compare to verified examples. Study the placement of the mint mark, the doubling, the weight, and the shine. Learn the subtleties that distinguish a modern coin from a million-dollar marvel. And remember, patience is key. The coins aren't just waiting. They reward those who know where to look and how to spot the details others overlook. The story comes full circle when you realize that what looks ordinary is often extraordinary. One casual collector's quarter became a global sensation, a coin worth over $2 million. Every line, every detail tells a story of chance, precision, and human error that led to a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You could be holding a treasure worth millions. This isn't a story from the past. It's happening right now, in 2025, and every day more collectors are discovering the incredible potential hiding in their pockets. This exact coin, the 2021 P. Washington quarter with its rare anomaly, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $2 million. Imagine a quarter, the kind you've jangled in your pocket 100 times, sitting quietly, hiding a fortune in plain sight. That's exactly what happened with the 1981 P. Washington quarter, one of the most mysterious, jaw-dropping coins in modern collecting history. It all starts at the Philadelphia Mint, the birthplace of millions of quarters. Most of these coins rolled off the presses in perfect form, destined to buy candy bars and pay parking meters. But a tiny fraction, just a few, were stamped with a subtle, almost imperceptible error that would make them the holy grail for collectors decades later. This isn't just a minting mistake. It's a story of precision gone wrong, a fortune hiding in plain sight. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins surfaced. Dealers immediately noticed something different. An unusual strike, a tiny imperfection in the rim, a double detail in the Liberty lettering. It was subtle, invisible to the casual eye, yet to the trained collector, it screamed opportunity. One man, a retired mailman, discovered a stack of 1981 P quarters in his change drawer. He didn't think much of it until a friend, a seasoned collector, glanced at the coin and turned pale. That single quarter could be worth, well, let's just say, a life-changing amount. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auctions erupted. Bids skyrocketed. A coin that had once bought a soda was suddenly fighting for headlines in the collector community. Stories poured in. One collector's find sold for over $1 million. Another's nearly $2.5 million. You read that right. $1 million for a single quarter. The press called it miraculous. Dealers couldn't get enough. Everyone wanted a piece of this quiet revolution in coins. It's all in the details. The Philadelphia Mint of 1981 accidentally created a tiny but significant variation, a double die that left the quarter with a subtle, almost ghost-like shadow on the lettering and the eagle. To the untrained eye, it's just another quarter. But for collectors who know the secret, it's $1 million beacon. And here's the kicker. Only a few thousand were ever made this way. That scarcity on steroids. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine reaching into your drawer tonight and pulling out a coin worth more than a small house. That's the kind of story that fuels collectors' dreams, and this is exactly why the 1981 P quarter has become legendary. Every auction tells a new tale. Sometimes the coins are found in old jars. other times in the forgotten piles at banks. The thrill isn't just in the money. It's in the hunt, in the suspense of discovering what's been hiding under your nose all along. And let me tell you, dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Phone calls, private auctions, frantic messages from collectors who've been hunting for years. They're scanning change, checking rolls, digging through drawers, anything to catch a glimpse of that doubled die. Every coin that surfaces reignites the frenzy, the stories, the drama. Because it's not just a coin. It's a golden ticket, a shot at a life-changing fortune. Collectors must be careful. There are counterfeit coins, attempts to mimic the doubled die, and subtle differences that can ruin the value. If you think you've found one, you need to check the lettering carefully. The Liberty and the In God We Trust details can't be ignored. Look for doubled edges, ghost-like shadows on the eagle, and imperfections that appear too precise to be accidental. One tiny detail missed, and the million-dollar value evaporates. This coin's journey from a mint error to a collector's treasure is filled with suspense and drama. Every 1981 P quarter that surfaces has a story. Some were buried in drawers for decades, some forgotten in coin rolls, and some discovered by people who couldn't have imagined their luck. And yet, even now, the hunt continues. That coin could be sitting in your drawer this very moment, quiet and unassuming, waiting for you to recognize its true worth. And here's the final twist. Even with all the publicity, most people still overlook these quarters. They pass them by in change, they ignore rolls at banks, they think it's just another quarter. But those who know, those who spot the subtle double die, know the secret. They know that this small piece of copper and nickel holds the power to change lives, to turn ordinary collectors into legends. So, when you're sorting through your coins next, don't just glance. Look closely. Examine every detail. Check the Liberty, the eagle, the date. That ghost-like shadow, the doubled lettering, it's your million-dollar clue. Because this exact 1981 P. Washington quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, completely unnoticed, yet worth over $2 million. The question is, will you recognize it when you see it? The thrill, the drama, the suspense, it's all real. Every coin has a story, every find is a miracle, and the 1981 P. Washington quarter is the crown jewel of them all. A coin that almost ended up lost in the shuffle is now a life-changing treasure. Imagine holding it, realizing that a fortune has been hiding in plain sight all along. That is the magic. That is the secret. That is why collectors will never stop hunting, because the next million-dollar discovery could be just a coin away. This is the story of the 2000 P. Maryland quarter, a coin that, in the right hands, is worth up to $2.6 million. And no, that's not a typo. $1 million. It all started quietly at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia in the year 2000. The state quarters program was in full swing, and Maryland's turn had just arrived. Most people thought these coins were ordinary, destined to jingle unnoticed in cash registers and coin jars. But hidden in the batches of ordinary Maryland quarters were a few with a secret. A tiny, almost invisible minting anomaly that would turn an everyday quarter into a collector's treasure. Collectors who stumbled upon this coin were shocked. Some had bought rolls of Maryland quarters at face value, thinking they were just another piece of pocket change. Others found it tucked in jars, in drawers, even under couch cushions. And then they noticed it, a subtle misalignment, a faint doubling in the design, or a slight variation in the lettering. Most people would overlook it. But for those who recognized it, this tiny detail meant millions. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. Dealers and auction houses scrambled as word spread. One man had innocently saved a handful of Maryland quarters from his change jar. He wasn't thinking about rare coins. He was thinking about parking meters and vending machines. And then he looked closely, really closely, and realized he was holding a coin that could be worth over $2 million. In the blink of an eye, pocket change became a $1 million miracle. The excitement wasn't just in the rarity. The story of this coin was almost mystical. How could a coin minted in mass production escape the eyes of collectors for decades? Why had it survived unnoticed? Experts suggest that only a very small number were struck with the anomaly, a hidden secret of the minting process, almost a mistake, but one that now commands a staggering value. Collectors were calling each other, whispering over the phone about sightings of this elusive coin. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 2000 P Maryland quarter that looked slightly different. Auctions saw bids climb at an unbelievable pace. And every time someone held the coin, they felt it. The thrill, the disbelief, the sheer possibility of turning a few cents into millions of dollars. But here's the twist that makes this coin legendary. You don't have to travel to a rare coin shop in New York or bid at a high-stakes auction in California to find it. It could be sitting right under your nose, hidden in your change, in an old jar, in a pocket, or even tucked inside a piggy bank. This exact coin, the one that could be worth $2.6 million, might already belong to you without you even knowing. Let me tell you a story that illustrates just how close these treasures can be. One collector, a retired teacher, had been saving quarters from his grandchildren for years. He didn't consider himself a numismatist, didn't scour auctions or search for rare mint errors. One afternoon, while cleaning his desk drawer, he spotted a quarter that looked off. The edges weren't quite right. The letters seemed slightly different. He didn't know it at the time, but in that moment, his mundane afternoon turned into a story he would tell for the rest of his life. The story of a coin that would someday be appraised at millions of dollars. Now, here's what makes this coin so uniquely valuable. The key is in the subtle mint mark, the P for Philadelphia. Then, look closely at the lettering on the word Maryland and the details in the state design. Some of these quarters show doubling, minor striking errors, or slight misalignments that most eyes would never notice. That's the hidden signature that tells collectors, this coin is worth millions. Most people would dismiss it as a normal quarter, but a trained eye, or even a patient one willing to study, can spot the difference. And that's what makes the hunt so thrilling. Imagine opening a coin roll at home and seeing a quarter that seems ordinary at first glance. You hold it under the light, turn it slowly, and suddenly something clicks. That tiny detail, almost invisible, jumps out at you. Your heartbeat accelerates because you know this isn't just a quarter. This is a 2000 P Maryland quarter with a hidden story, a hidden value, a hidden fortune waiting to be claimed. Dealers are still stunned by the rarity of this coin. Auctions that once sold common quarters for a few dollars are now seeing bids for this exact type climb into the millions. The collector's world is buzzing. And yet, despite the frenzy, there is still a chance for anyone to stumble upon this life-changing coin. This is the magic. It isn't locked behind velvet ropes or collector-exclusive clubs. It's out there, waiting for someone curious, patient, and lucky enough to notice the secret. Most people will never see a coin like this. They'll never realize that a piece of metal they toss into a machine or slide into a jar could be worth more than their car, their home, or their savings. But those who do recognize it experience something extraordinary. A mix of shock, excitement, and a sense of destiny. Million-dollar dreams aren't always built in boardrooms or lottery tickets. Sometimes, they're struck quietly in a Philadelphia mint over 2 decades ago. First, examine the mint mark. The P is essential. Then, inspect the lettering and the design details carefully. Look for anomalies, doubling, or minor misalignments. Most important, handle it with care. The condition affects value, so even a small scratch or nick could impact the appraisal. If something feels unusual, trust your instincts. Have it appraised by a professional if needed. Every detail counts when millions are at stake. And the truth is, millions of people walk past these coins every day without realizing what they hold. A cashier drops a roll into a jar. A collector flips through a change drawer. A grandchild passes along coins for a game. The magic moment is fleeting, but for those who spot it, it's unforgettable. Million-dollar possibilities can hide in the most ordinary places. Imagine yourself holding it. Your heart races. The coin feels heavier than it should, as if it carries the weight of history and fortune. You think back to the thousands of coins you've handled, and now, suddenly, you've found the one that matters. The one that turns a lifetime of small moments into a single extraordinary discovery. This is what collectors dream about. A coin that transcends currency. A coin that writes its own story of wonder and wealth. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Not someday, not in someone else's collection, but in your hands. A 2000 P Maryland quarter with a secret story, a hidden anomaly, and a fortune waiting to be unlocked. If you pay attention, study the details, and trust your eyes, You might just stumble upon the discovery of a lifetime. This is the magic of coins. Ordinary on the surface, extraordinary at heart. A quiet minting error becomes a million-dollar miracle. A forgotten coin roll becomes a collector's dream. A single moment of curiosity can change everything. The 2000 P Maryland quarter isn't just a piece of metal. It's a story, a mystery, and a potential fortune. And right now, the story could be yours. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in your hand and not realizing that it could transform your life. That's the story of the 1983 P. Washington quarter, a coin hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right collector to recognize its true worth. What if I told you that millions of these quarters were minted, yet only a select few carry a secret so valuable that collectors are willing to pay shocking sums for them? You might be passing one in your pocket right now. The story begins at the Philadelphia Mint in 1983. A standard year, nothing extraordinary to the casual eye. Quarters rolled off the presses by the millions, destined for circulation. But a small number of them were struck with an unusual characteristic, a rare minting anomaly that even seasoned collectors almost overlooked. At first glance, it looked like any other Washington quarter, but for those trained eyes, the difference was monumental. Collectors were shocked when one of these coins surfaced at an estate sale. A man, cleaning out his grandfather's old coin jar, spotted a quarter that seemed different. He didn't know it yet, but that single coin would eventually sell for over $1 million. Dealers rushed to authenticate it, examining every angle, every reflection in the metal, confirming what was already suspected. This wasn't just a quarter. It was $1 million discovery hiding in ordinary pocket change. The anomaly is subtle. On the 1983 P. Washington quarter, you want to focus on the mint mark itself. The P is generally straightforward, but in these rare coins, the strike is unusually sharp and slightly misaligned, a detail most people never notice. And it's not just the mint mark. Look closely at the relief, the texture of George Washington's profile. There's a slight doubling in the date, a faint whisper of the die shift that makes this quarter extraordinarily rare. Miss this, and you'll walk right past what could be a life-changing find. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word of this discovery spread like wildfire. Auctions that previously attracted hundreds of bidders now drew thousands. Private collectors, some of whom had spent decades chasing rare coins, found themselves outbid by people who simply recognized the subtle anomaly. One coin sold for over $2.7 million, a sum almost unimaginable for something so small and so seemingly ordinary. Imagine for a moment the emotional roller coaster of the man who found it. One day, he's sorting pocket change. The next, he's holding a coin that could secure generations of financial stability. His simple act of curiosity turned into a historic moment for numismatics. This is the magic of rare coin collecting, where patience, knowledge, and a trained eye converge into life-altering fortune. First, inspect the mint mark closely. The P should be perfectly centered, yet on these rare coins, the alignment is slightly off, a nuance that only reveals itself under a magnifying lens. Next, check the date. The 1983 should display crisp edges, but the rare versions carry an almost imperceptible doubling. And finally, the surface itself. Genuine examples have a unique luster, a metallic sheen that catches the light differently than the common coins in circulation. Most people will never see one of these quarters in their lifetime. Millions of 1983 P quarters exist, but only a handful carry the minting anomaly that commands millions of dollars. That's why one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and why every coin jar holds the tantalizing possibility of a fortune. But don't be fooled. Spotting this coin requires patience and focus. Many amateur collectors pass it by, dismissing it as just another quarter. Yet if you take the time to examine each coin you find, magnify the details, and understand the subtle differences, you could be holding a piece of numismatic history that others only dream of. What makes this discovery so compelling is not just the monetary value, but the story it tells. Each 1983 P quarter carries the weight of history, the imprint of human hands, and the mystery of chance. The coins that slipped through the mint's presses with imperfections are now treasures that collectors would do anything to acquire. And while the millions of ordinary quarters circulate unnoticed, the rare few remain hidden, quietly waiting for their moment to shine. Dealers across the country are hunting for these quarters, attending estate sales, digging through coin rolls, and carefully examining every collection they can find. They understand the stakes. They know that one misaligned mint mark could be the difference between a worthless coin and a $2.7 million masterpiece. The excitement doesn't end with discovery. Once authenticated, these coins spark a frenzy. Auction houses are transformed into theaters of tension as collectors compete, bids escalating into the millions. The thrill of the chase, the moment when the hammer falls, and a coin changes hands for sums most people can only imagine. That's the pulse of the coin world. And it all starts with something as ordinary as a quarter. Focus on the mint mark first. Observe the subtle doubling of the date. Check the relief of George Washington's profile and examine the surface luster. Compare with standard examples and learn the signs that make these coins unique. The details are subtle, but they are life-changing that it's easy to miss this opportunity. One glance, one casual dismissal, and you could pass a fortune right by. Yet the reward is undeniable. Holding a coin like this is not just owning currency. It's holding a piece of history, a tangible connection to the past, and a ticket to potential financial transformation. In your pocket, in your drawers, or in an old jar of coins, a 1983 P. Washington quarter could be hiding, waiting for you to discover it. That slight misalignment of the P, that doubling in the date, that unique sheen, it's more than a coin. It's $1 million secret hiding